Hi everybody. Um, Hi everybody. So today I have a special person coming in to join me. You guys have heard me talk about Hannah, one of the Ethiopian adopted kids. And today her sister is gonna come on here and talk to you guys about the trauma she went through with her family. ሁላችሁ እንደምታውቁት የሃናን ታሪክ ብዙ ጊዜ እናገር ነበር፣ እንዴት እንደሞተች ማን እንደገደላት እና ዛሬ ደግሞ እህቷ መጣ ስለሷ ታሪክ ትናገራለች። እና ተዘጋጁልኝ። እሷንም አሁን ኢንቫይት አደርጋታለሁ ከ15 ደቂቃ በኋላ እና በጣም ደስ የሚል ቀን እናሳልፍ። እንዳልኳችሁ ይሄ ለሃናም የምትባለው ኦሃዮ የምትኖረው ልጅ የነበረችው የሷ እህት ናት የሞተችው ማለት ነው። እና ዛሬ ደግሞ አገኘዋትና ከዛ ለምን ላይቭ ላይ አትገቢም ብዬ ስጠይቃት ኦኬ ላይቭ ላይ እመጣለሁ ካንቺ ጋር ብላኝ እኔ ደግሞ ተዘጋጅቼ እሷን እየቆየው ነው። And please have when she comes on, please just be mindful that she will be talking about her trauma. She will be talking about her sister. Just please be very respectful, because that's very important to me and to my guests. I can't talk about politics, like I said before, because I don't really know anything about politics, but I'm here just to teach you guys what the trauma of being adopted is and what we go through as a kid, and that's it. እንዳልኳችሁ የሃና እህት ያቺ ባለፈው የሞተችው የሃና እህት ዛሬ መጣ እኔ ጋር ላይቭ ትቆያለች እና please be very cautious of the question you're going to ask. ለምን ብትሉ እሷ ራሷ ብዙ ትራማ አላት። እናትና አባቷ እስካሁን እስር ቤት ነው ያሉት በሃና ጉዳይና እሷን ሪስፔክት አድርጉልኝ። እንዳልኳችሁ ስትመጣ ደግሞ ያው እንድትገባ አደርጋለሁ። and thank you Promiseye, thank you. Please you guys, I am so excited, like I'm so pumped to have her come on here and join me to have her talk about what happened to her sister and also what happened to her and her brothers and sisters. So this is going to be a great time, and please keep tapping because I do need to get it going in order for me to stay on here. Please tap አድርጉልኝ። Let's see if I can find her. Share. Okay. Tap አድርጉልኝ please. Thank you. I sent her an invitation, just a matter of time before she comes and joins us, you guys. But just give me a minute and she will be joining us. Hey beautiful.
Hey, so I'm just trying to figure out how to turn my camera on.
So if you press on the multi, the multi-guest on there.
Oh, yep. Okay. There we go. Perfect.
Oh my God. Hi, beautiful.
Hi, how
you guys,
doing?
like I told you, I'm good.
Good.
But By the way, you look beautiful. Thank you for
Thank
responding to
you.
my message
Yes,
and my
thank you.
comment. My name's Tadla, but you can call me T, the letter T. Just
All right.
make it simple.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, I was adopted from Ethiopia, and I know you have brothers and sisters. I listened to some of your videos, and from the bottom of my heart, I'm so sorry for the loss of your sister
Yeah.
and for all the trauma that you went through. And like I told you guys, please, please, please be respectful of the comments you're gonna put on here. And I will say it again. I'm gonna keep saying it. This is our sister here. She's gonna be talking about her experience she went through, and if she's wanting to share about her sister Hannah, she's more than welcome. But I'm just here to let you guys know that, the trauma goes beyond us Ethiopian kids. So go
Thank
ahead
you
and
for that.
introduce yourself. Of course.
Hi, my name is Carrot Gardner. So I grew up with my biological parents until I was 12 years old. At 12 years old, I was removed from the home. So I have had some time away from it. And I do have a question too. So I've made several videos talking about Hannah, and I got some people saying that it's pronounced Hana in Amharic because
Hannah,
Amharic
yeah.
is her, yes. So
Yeah.
should I refer to her out of respect? Should I refer to her out of Hana or
Hannah,
Hannah?
yeah.
Hana.
No,
Okay,
Hannah,
thank you.
Hannah's fine.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I just want to be like the most respectful and like honor her in the best way that I can.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was since I shared that video, I've been really overwhelmed by the support that I've gotten from everybody, people in the Ethiopian community and people not. It's just been amazing to see people come forward and be supportive, and also people sharing their experiences. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really powerful that that video has helped people kind of come out and say like, hey, like I went through this, or hey, like what you did, like I'm from Ethiopia, I'd like to hear more. It's been really encouraging because for a long time I was scared to come out and talk about what I had been through because
Mm-hmm.
especially being a white person in this situation, I realized like when people hear about this, people are going to get angry. And I was kind of nervous and scared of like anger being directed at me because yes, my parents, biological parents were white, and what happened probably had a lot to do with racism. And I myself am not racist. If I do ever say anything that's even remotely racist, I would hope that people would correct me, because like
Mm-hmm.
that is not my goal at all. My goal is to be inclusive of everybody and respectful of everybody, because I think we are all created equal. And so I was definitely scared because um, I just didn't know how everybody was going to respond in the situation,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is
Okay.
kind of understandable. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so it was nice. I did get a lot of pretty like hateful, mean comments as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I dealt with that by like at first I tried not to let it get to me. And then there was a point where it kind of started to get to me. And I was like, you know what? This is not something that I have to put up with. I went through and deleted comments, blocked some people because I feel like on social media specifically, people say things over the internet, over their computer, that they wouldn't necessarily say to my face. Like especially
Mm-hmm.
in trauma situations. Like
Yeah.
I understand not everybody's been through things that are like childhood trauma, so they don't fully understand it. Like I appreciate
Right.
questions. I think questions are important, but when people attack like victims of trauma and childhood trauma, I don't really think that's appropriate. Like they don't really
Absolutely.
fully understand like the extent of the abuse that happened, not just with Hana and Emmanuel, but also with me and my biological siblings as well.
How
So,
many kids did your parents adopt?
so we adopted two from Ethiopia
Okay.
at the same time. So it's Hana and Emmanuel. They were not biologically related. They were
Okay.
from actually two separate orphanages.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so we adopted them in 2008, and I already had six biological siblings at the time.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, there was a lot of us. And it was kind of, I guess, your typical like ultra religious homeschooled family, what you would expect to see, like on Sundays, the girls in long dresses, the guys in like nice button up shirts. From the outside, we looked like a really
Yeah.
perfect family, like
Yeah.
nothing was wrong. Yeah. And people didn't understand what was going on behind closed doors. Um,
Hmm.
which is understandable from that point. Like if you're not really looking for that, like you're not going to see it. There's a lot of stuff that people don't see in people's homes. Like it happens all the time in school too. Teachers are
Yeah.
like, yeah, I had no idea this was happening to this child. It's very covert a lot of times, child abuse can be. So yeah.
Wow. And how many siblings do you have biological to you?
6.
So you come from 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
have
yeah.
14.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
I
a
have
there's a
14.
lot of us. You have how many? Sorry.
14.
Dang. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
biological.
Biological, 2.
2. Okay. So
Yeah.
dang. So when were you adopted?
So I was adopted in 2001. So I came
Okay.
in 2001. I was 12 years old. I know Hannah
Mhm.
was younger than me, but no, I was 12. My 2 siblings, my 2 sisters, and my 2 brothers were younger, 3 and 4ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty young. Yeah.
yeah,
I can.
wow.
One thing that that I found interesting in the case of like Larry and Carrie is they didn't really let Hana and Emmanuel practice a lot of like things from their culture. So there was a
And
lot of
why do you
things.
think that is?
I think because they had that like white nationalist mentality that America's better than other
Mhm.
countries in every way. I think it's like sadly a very common mentality among Americans.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, and then that Christian mentality too, that like if it's outside the realms of like this extreme fundamentalist Christianity, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And I've been thinking about that a lot recently. Like, I wonder what kind of impact that had on them. Like, I can't imagine being forced to leave, or not necessarily being forced, but like leaving your culture behind, going to a completely new country with a completely different culture, different language, different religion, and then having to adjust to that. Like, the amount of culture shock that an individual would be in would be astounding. And then my
Hmm.
biological parents not being supportive is just looking back on that, it's like it's heartbreaking, honestly. It's heartbreaking that that happened in that way. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. This yeah. And so like my when I think about
So,
that, it just like breaks my heart,
so
honestly.
when Hannah was adopted, how old was she?
So we actually don't know the exact age of Hana. When she was
Adopted.
adopted, she was around 12 years old. So anywhere from like, I think anywhere from like 11 to 13.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Wow. And and her brother was how old?
He was, let me see, about, so it was 2008. He was around 8, like 7 or 8, if I
Okay. So
remember
they're not too young. Not too young. Okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. How like I from your TikTok, I watched a lot of them.
Hmm.
I may not know you personally. I've never met you
Yeah.
personally, but I do feel your pain.
Thank you.
Um, but I also like I don't know how to express it. Like the trauma that you went through the minute after Hannah passed away. Like I can
Hmm.
only imagine to. I mean, I don't know where did you guys go after that whole thing happened. I should say.
Um, After it happened, so it happened, Hannah passed in May of 2011. My
Mhm.
siblings and I, the rest of us, were not removed from the home until July. So it took several months, yeah, which is insane because CPS came like 5 days afterward, and tried to interview. I think I talked about this in one of the videos. Tried to interview us. Larry
Yeah.
told them to go away. Big red flag. They came back later, interviewed us each individually with Larry and Carrie present, which is
Okay.
not good. So all the answers were obviously rehearsed. They answered a lot of the questions
Yeah.
for us. Fortunately, the detective on the case that was hired by the state was phenomenal. She was a great detective. She put together the affidavit to get my parents arrested, get us taken from the home. So we were removed from the home in July. I think it was the end of July, and all split up. So I went into a foster home with two of my older brothers.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Emmanuel went straight to a foster home because he was deaf. So he went straight into a foster home with deaf parents, which was
Mhm.
amazing that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, so somebody who is deaf, like you need that level of support. Like if you go into a home that's hearing but they know ASL, it's a different experience. You
Absolutely.
don't have that same connection. My oldest brother, he turned 18 shortly after. He went straight into the military.
Okay.
Couple, my two younger sisters went to a different foster home.
So you guys were all separated.
Yes, we were all separated. And it took quite a while for us to kind of land where we ended up staying for the majority of the rest of our childhood. Yeah. So I ended up with an aunt and uncle in Idaho with
Okay.
a younger sister and a younger brother. So,
Okay.
hmm
Wow.
yeah.
So, I mean, I really haven't, like, like I said, I have to
hmm
be respectful, you guys. But when Hannah died in 2011, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you were still young then. You were
Yes, yeah.
12 years old, you said.
12 years old, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
hmm
And I guess my question is, what do you think happened to her at that moment? Like, did they tell you that she passed away, or
Yeah,
you know what I
so
mean? Like, I don't know how to ask it.
no, that's okay. I actually just filmed a couple more videos talking about the night that Hannah did pass. I haven't posted them yet. It's definitely one of like more traumatic memories, so it's a little difficult for me to feel ready to post them,
And
but
that's okay. Take your
yeah.
time. We don't need to discuss it. But I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
at the moment, what was your state of
Yeah.
mind? Like, were you afraid for
Oh,
yourself?
oh yeah.
Were
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So it
yeah.
seems like you know quite a bit about trauma. Is that correct? Like
I've
you're
been through it a lot.
educated. Yes.
Yes.
So you know about like in severe cases of trauma, oftentimes like kids will learn to dissociate,
Yeah.
basically disconnect from themselves, from the world around them. That was something I learned at a very young age. So during a
Oh,
large majority of the severe abuse, I was looking back, I can tell that I was very dissociated. Like I was aware of what was going on. I knew what was going on. There was
hmm
definitely that fear, but it didn't feel real. I actually witnessed Hana passing. I was the one that went outside and found her. Um, so it
I'm so
was,
sorry.
thank you. Yeah, it's something that I've processed a lot in therapy because, like, yes, I have PTSD. It was a memory that brought up like a lot of flashbacks, things like
hmm
that. So it's something that I've learned to talk about and not let it overwhelm me to the extent that
Yeah.
it did in the past. I mean, I still definitely get like get emotional and things like
Oh
that.
yeah. If you don't,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be normal. The one
Yeah,
thing I can tell
exactly.
you, is on behalf of the Ethiopian community.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want you to think like I don't want them. I don't want you to think like we think you should have done something. You know what I mean? We're all kids. We all go through things separately,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't want you to think there is a lot of Habesha people, which I'm gonna say something in our language quick to let them know what we're talking about.
Okay.
But um, I don't want you to think that there's any kind of blame towards you.
Thank you.
None.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Because like I said, I will tell you my trauma in a little bit,
Yeah.
but I went through a lot. Like you said, your parents didn't allow Hannah and Emmanuel to talk about their trauma. Actually, one of my friends here, she was in the orphanage with Emmanuel. So
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm sure she'll come in a little bit, and you can
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
her. But
Yeah.
I, like I said to you guys, please be respectful. Like this is Hannah's sister. Hannah's sister. Please be respectful. If you guys have question, I'm sure there she is. There she comes. Please be respectful. She's part of our family, you guys. She's part of us now. So you are a family now. You're no longer, don't think you're an outsider. Okay. So we're all have some kind of trauma. So I will let everybody else up here introduce themselves, and then we can
All right.
continue.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I was in the orphanage with Emmanuel, and I remember Hannah as well. And you know how like the families come to the orphanage to pick up the kids they adopted, and so they have to go through process and the embassy and all that stuff. So I remember when they came to pick it up, and how happy Emmanuel and Hannah were. Um, like as you can imagine, everybody who was adopted from Ethiopia, everybody who knew Hannah, everybody who knew Matt, like when we heard what happened, like it was kind of like she was like our sister. You know what I mean? Like it was extremely devastating. Um, my question is like, when Emmanuel was asked like what was happening and all that stuff, like when she was like outside naked, almost dying, he said that like why didn't the other siblings help and stuff, and he said that you guys were laughing at her. Um, I, I'm just wondering, like I can't imagine. Like you were probably a kid and stuff. I get it. Um, I also been through trauma as well, but one thing I wish was like somebody would stick up for me. Just
Oh, she wants to say something. Go ahead.
Can I address? So that's something that's actually been commented a lot, and I hadn't really addressed it because it is a little difficult to explain. So Carrie and Larry were extremely controlling. Um, we were
And
completely
those are
under
her
their
parents, you
thumb.
guys. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry, I don't refer to them as my parents
No,
typically.
no, yeah,
Yeah,
just keep referring them how you want. I just want to make sure somebody doesn't say, why is she saying that?
yeah. So during that time, Hana was throwing herself around on the ground, and Carrie was livid. She was angry. She basically like she yelled at all me and my siblings. She like ordered us go to the window and look out and laugh at Hana. So it was something that was ordered of us. I know that seems still kind of counterintuitive. Like, why would we do that? Why would we follow what Carrie would say? Um, it was like survival mode, kind of. It was.
Hmm.
I
so
remember my yeah. So go ahead.
so it was like if you don't do it, you would have gotten the punishment instead. Like
Yes, yeah, 100%.
yeah, I
Well, I
I
mean,
under
yeah.
I understand. I honestly do understand. Like I said, like I was adopted into a family and stuff, so I've been through a lot as well. Um, I guess I had a question about that, and I thank you so
Yeah,
much for answering it,
of
and
course, yeah.
thank you for everything. When I saw your video, I was actually honestly just like amazed. Like even that you're speaking about it now is just amazing.
Thank
It
you.
is. That's a big, big progress, you know.
Thank you
Um,
for that, yeah.
and the fact that you're able to come on here and discuss it with me in the open conversation, that's a big step. You know, like I said, this conversation is not something that we're just going to stop today. It's going to continue with us. We're going to grow together. Um, but me and my sister, we've been through this similar traumas, you know. So for me, when I first found out what happened to Hannah, like Hannah, when like I didn't hear on the news, it was actually on I think it was a Facebook or something that it came through, and
Yeah,
I
I
read
saw it
about
on
it. I was like,
Facebook too, as well.
yeah,
It wasn't in
yeah,
the
and I was just
media or
like,
anything.
what? They brought her to America, but then at that point, I didn't realize that your parents actually had biological kids. I didn't know that. Um, so when I found out, you know, I followed a little bit. Like I said, um, the one thing I can tell you, Carrie, is you do not have to be in detail. Okay, this is just introducing you right now, and to let you know that we're behind you. We're here. With every trauma you're gonna go through, we're behind you. You know, but when I first, like I said, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, they adopted two kids, but I didn't know that you guys actually had siblings. It
Yeah.
was until later on when I was like, oh, so the abuse didn't just stop with the adopted kids, it also continued with their biological kids, is what I understood.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And
Also,
have you been
you're
back? Go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say I'm in Seattle now,
Mhm.
and I know this happened in Washington. I don't know exactly where it is. You don't have to say it or anything, but
I
a
thought it was
lot of
Ohio, no?
no. You guys lived in Washington or Ohio?
Washington.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm getting it mixed up.
Oh, you can.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you good.
yeah. And did you guys meet any other adopted kids from Ethiopia by chance? Like, or did your family like never went to like a get together in Washington where all the other kids from like the orphanage went to and all this stuff?
No, that was another thing. Uh, Carrie and Larry kept us all very isolated. That was part of like the control and part of the abuse, part of the brainwashing. The only time we really went out was for church. And even like the last, I think maybe year and a half, we stopped going to church. Not even friends or family came over. So it was
Wow.
very severely isolated. The only thing that Carrie and Larry did for Hana that was like showed any interest in her culture or anything was they gave her a Bible written in Amharic.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it was very isolating.
How,
Yeah.
how how was your mom and dad towards you guys? Were they isolating you guys as well as Hannah too, or is it just Hannah and Emmanuel?
We were all very isolated. It started before our family adopted Hana and Emmanuel, but it did get more severe as time went on. This is something that, yes, there was abuse that happened before, but as time went on, it did progress more and more and more as we became more and more isolated. So we did follow, my family followed the teachings of Michael and Debbie Pearl, which is the Independent Fundamentalist Baptist. They're part of that denomination.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so they used a lot of different like abusive child training techniques,
Mm-hmm.
that and a lot of really twisted like religion, and so there's a lot of spiritual abuse. I do talk a bit about like spiritual abuse on my page as well, kind of
Yeah.
what that looks like. So there was a lot of that, a lot more um covert like physical abuse. So
Okay.
we were basically told like, I remember Larry, my biological dad, telling me, he's like, yeah, I spank you because I love you. Parents that don't spank their kids don't love their kids. So this is the type of like, worldview that I grew up with. And
Okay.
so I didn't really understand. I wasn't at age to understand or around families enough to understand that, hey, this isn't like a normal thing. This isn't like a healthy thing. We only hung out with families who did the same thing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how do you like I feel bad for all the kids that were in there, to be honest, including you. And what have you done? like for you to, like, as far as therapy and all that stuff, to get through all this? Because I mean, Hannah was your sister at the end of the day, so
Mm-hmm.
watching her die, it's difficult. So what did you do?
Um, so I would say that I was like in shock for a long time following that. Like not only from that, but being like my whole world being flipped upside down, being removed from the home, even though I was removed from a very abusive home, it's still a traumatic experience for kids being put in
Mm-hmm.
foster care. I did get involved in therapy pretty early on. It took me quite a while before I actually opened up and started talking and being able to trust people in general. That's something I still struggle with, honestly, is trusting people and being vulnerable with people that are closest to me. Done a lot of trauma work, EMDR, um, talk
Mm-hmm.
therapy, deep dialectical behavior therapy. I've been in and out of multiple treatment centers. So psych
Okay.
hospitals, residential facilities, rehabs. This isn't like something that I took really one approach to. It's taken a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different approaches and things, like trying things too, like, will this
Yeah.
work? No, that doesn't work. Will this work? Trying to figure out like the best approach, and thing that really helps me the most, and that's included medication, consistent therapy, learning how to build friendships, learning how to trust people. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's taken a lot of different things, and then realizing that what happened and what I grew up with was wrong. That was something that took me a long time to realize, because growing up in an abusive home where you're brainwashed and made to believe under like fear of going to hell, that if you believe something different, you're going to hell. Like that's a very scary thing to think about as a child. So when I finally realized that was wrong, I had to start looking at the world different. That
Okay.
included having conversations with my youth pastor at the time. Like, what is God actually? Like,
Mm.
it's obviously not this God that I was raised to believe in. Like, what
Mm.
is it actually? And I still struggle with that. Like, I believe there is a God, but by no means is it even close to the God that I was raised with. So, like,
And
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
okay to
yeah.
struggle with that.
I think we
Um.
both like grew up in a church base too. It's wondering
Mhm.
like if there's such a God, like why am I
Yeah,
going through this? You know what I mean? You have to
exactly. Yeah.
you have to find your spiritual like in your own way. You can't let
Hmm.
other people force you, even if it is your parents. You know what I mean? Um,
Exactly.
You have a question here. It says, "Can you, if possible, can you please I can't see well, you guys. So, can you please share about the moment your parents got exposed?"
Uh, so the moment I got exposed.
Again, my dear Sarah, it's what you can. Don't think you have to. Straight to the point. It's what you can. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not like exposed. I don't know. So I remember um kind of like a really hard, I think it was probably more so they got exposed when they got arrested. So
Oh wow.
we were removed from the home in July.
Okay.
Um at the time that CPS and the cops came to remove us, Carrie was not at home, Larry was not at home. Carrie was at the store doing grocery shopping. Larry was at work. So they came, took us all, told us we were going to meet them at the CPS office. Um,
Okay.
but Larry and Carrie weren't actually arrested. We were allowed visitation until September. So, like, for over a month,
With
we
him.
were, hmm?
You had visitation with with him.
With my parents. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
all of my siblings and I were allowed visitation with my parents for another month, which is like kind of crazy to me looking back. I'm like, that just does not seem right at all.
no,
Um,
it does not. It's it
it's like more
definitely, the system definitely failed you guys. Like it
in the
really
long
Absolutely.
term.
did.
Yeah.
It's not just Hannah. It's all of you, all the eight of you. You know,
Yeah.
and um, it's like to me, like she's at peace now. There's nothing we can do to change it, but it's
Hmm.
more what can we do to heal from it, and what can we do to help you heal from it? Like I said, we all been through a trauma. It may not be as extensive as yours, Sarah, but we have, trust me, we all have some PTSD, and we all have something that, you know, we're dealing with.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For me,
And
I had identity crisis for a long time.
Yeah.
I had, it wasn't so much my mom, but my father was not a fan of me speaking my language.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
If Hannah and I know Emmanuel, were you guys all learn how to sign and stuff so you can
Mm.
communicate? Or was Hannah speaking Amharic and stuff? Like me, my experience as well, we were told to stop speaking Amharic as well in our family.
That's
So
sad. That it's seems language. That's just like fucked up. That like you would bring a kid over from another country and then be like, yeah, and you can't speak. Like you're like, what?
yeah,
So we all knew ASL, so we were all able to communicate with Emmanuel. For Hana, I don't remember them explicitly saying like you can't speak in your language, but it was encouraged for her to like, you know, learn better English, things like that. Um, so I actually remember asking Hana to teach me Amharic. So we would go out in the woods because we had like woods out behind our house, and we would sit in the woods, and she would like teach me how to say specific things in Amharic. Um, and that was like a really fun experience because I wanted to learn and be able to communicate with her in her native language. Um,
Mm.
so I don't remember if Carrie and Larry ever caught on to that though. I don't know if that's something they ever like realized that we were doing.
Mm.
that's like crazy for me to hear because it's like
Mm-hmm.
you had to learn Amharic just so, like y'all can survive and just talk and like yeah, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, and part of your healing is telling her story. Like that, I am glad somebody's coming out of that family. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know if you're the only one talking about it or anything, but I'm glad somebody's saying something. You know.
And I'm hoping that with me talking about this, that other people who've had similar experiences will begin to talk about it more, and that more action can be taken to prevent this type of stuff from happening again.
Yes,
Because even though
exactly.
even though you can't adopt out of Ethiopia anymore, there's still a lot of horrible situations happening with religious abuse, with people who are adopted in general, just things that need to change within the system.
I
So,
mean, even the even the adoption that happens inside the United States,
hmm
you know, there's still kids being adopted and their culture still being stripped away.
yep.
My brother, Mamush, salam bilana.
Hi, salam biyachualo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good, good.
How are you guys?
Been good.
I see. What idea you are talking about? Can you tell me? Just
ዛሬ የምናወራው ሀና የምትባል ልጅ ነበረች ሲያትል የምትኖርና እህቷ ናት እሷ ከታች ያለችው ስለ
okay.
ሀና እያወራን ነው የሞተችው in 2000 you said 2011 right I think
Yep.
yeah in 2011 እና እህቷ ናት we're just talking about you know the trauma she went through and on behalf of the Ethiopian people and my brothers and sisters of adopted children and who have been through the foster care system she replied to my message right away and I'm just inviting her on here to let her know we're here you know we're all going to heal together we're going to and talk about you know the trauma that she went through with her family with her biological parents and pretty much how she's doing and that's it
Yeah, it was crazy the timing when
Mhm.
we went on live. And it was literally we talked about Hannah on live and a couple days later it was when your
Yeah,
video came up in my For You page and I was like,
I know.
wow, that's crazy. And I wanted it to
Mm.
make a video a Stitch right away, but I was
Mhm.
like, no, like let me just find out more about her, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Me, I just was like, somebody sent it to me, and I was like, all right, I will
Mhm.
like her videos. If she replies back, replies. And then I commented, and I was like, please follow me. I really want to talk to you. And I was like,
Mhm.
today.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but ሁላችሁ አማርኛ ብቻ የምትሰሙ ከሆነ እህቴ በአማርኛ ንገሪያቸው እስኪ። እንግዲህ አንቺ ከኔ የበለጠ ስለምታወሪ
ማን እኔ
ያ
እንዴ? ኧረ እኔ አማርኛ አላወራም።
ኧረ አውሪ እንደማስባለሁ እኮ አሁን በአማርኛ የሚሰማ no, I'm just trying to explain to the Ethiopian community because I know there's a lot of Ethiopian people on here listening. I'm just letting them know who you are and what we're here talking about. So today is pretty much um I guess trauma. It's about trauma, and our sister here is Hannah's sister, like I said, and she's just talking about the experience she went through with her family, and yeah.
Yeah, and you can bring Hannah back. That's right there. She can translate for you guys. I have to go back to work, but it was really
Oh,
nice to
you
meet
do?
you. And yeah, and thank you for answering my question. And
Yeah, of course.
keep talking about it and keep
All
healing.
right. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye,
Yes.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Um, yeah, her name is Hannah. So how? So it's ever since you guys got separated from your parents, uh,
Mhm.
where are your parents today? I should
So,
ask, I guess.
uh, Carrie and Larry are in prison now.
Oh, that's there.
So,
Okay.
yes. So they were arrested in September of 2011. The trial did not take place until August of 2013. So it was about 2 years later that the trial
Okay.
took place. And Carrie was, I think she was charged with like homicide by abuse, manslaughter, and abuse and neglect. Um,
Okay.
she got 36 years in prison, and there's no parole either. And
Mm,
Larry was charged with homicide and abuse and neglect, and was sentenced to 28 years in prison without parole.
okay. And
Mhm.
ever since that, how are you doing today? Like, you went through
Um,
all that trauma. How are you feeling? Emotionally, physically, mentally, where are you today?
um, so today I'm doing a lot better than I've done in a long time. And I think that's why I
Mm-hmm.
was ready to start talking about it. Over the last couple years, definitely struggled a lot with things like depression, suicide attempts,
Mm-hmm.
post-traumatic stress, self-harm, addiction, like drug and alcohol abuse. So there's been a lot of of things that I've battled, things that are basically just like symptoms of trauma, of unhealed trauma specifically. So
And
I've been in recovery now, like in and out of, well, working the steps. So I work like the um, Narcotics Anonymous steps, and that helps out a lot. I go to meetings, I'm in therapy, just like engaging in those types of things, like those healthy things, finding things that I enjoy has really helped me and put me in a much better mental and emotional place than I've been in a long time.
okay. Do you um how come nobody in your family stepped up to help you guys stay together so you didn't have to be separated, or is it something you guys chose because of the trial?
Um, so there were quite a few family members that did step up. So there was an aunt and uncle in Washington. They had several kids of their own though, so they were only able to adopt my youngest sister.
Okay.
And then my aunt and uncle in Idaho, they had their daughter living with them still, so they were only able to take in a couple of us. So it was hard to find somebody to take in all of like the remaining siblings.
Okay.
Because there were so many of us. So
That makes
yeah.
sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You have a question on here. Whatever you're comfortable with answering. Like I said, this is just.
So
Did you see?
Larry? I think he is. Yeah. Did Larry have any sympathy for the kids when Carrie was being abusive, or was the abuse from both? So the way I look at it, Larry has shown more like shame and regret following what happened than Carrie ever has. Based off of Carrie's responses, the way she talks about things that happened. I was talking to my therapist about this a while ago, and she told me that to her it seems like Carrie is sadistic. So basically, she doesn't have the ability to feel empathy for anybody.
Wow.
So I think Carrie is just evil, whereas Larry, in a way, he was almost, yeah, he engaged a lot of the abuse, he encouraged it, but he did not stop Carrie from doing the things that she was doing, and he engaged in a lot of it himself. They were both very abusive. I'm not excusing Larry's behavior at all, but he shows some regret, but not enough to actually do the right thing. And by that I mean plead guilty. They both pled innocent during the trial, which got them a lot more time than they could have gotten away with. So they could have gotten significantly reduced time if they had both taken the guilty plea, but they didn't. So
Wow.
they both maintained their innocence during the whole thing, which shows me that they really, even though they might feel some type of way about, like maybe Phil or Larry in general might feel like ashamed of what he did, he's pushing it down. He's not doing the right thing. Yeah, and I'm actually glad they didn't plead guilty either. I'm glad they got as long as they did in prison.
And how's the rest of your family treating you right now because of what's going on, you know?
So when this all went down and everything came out, it really divided my family. So I have like aunts and uncles, grandparents that are supportive. Like on Larry and Carrie's side, people that are supportive of the children and my siblings and everything that happened. So it really divided all of us. I don't talk to the family members who are supporting Larry and Carrie at all.
Good for you.
I cut them out of my life. I'm pretty close with several of my siblings still. We communicate on a regular basis. So in those, they are very supportive. So I do have family members who are supportive of me and where I'm at in my journey right now. So.
And you said you went through alcohol and drug addiction?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
But before this whole thing happened, you never experienced with anything like that. I'm sure you didn't, but you know what I mean?
No, not while I was still living with my biological parents.
Wow. And do you think it would have been different if you would have had more support when that whole thing was going on? Like maybe if you wouldn't have gone to the foster care system, you could have been, I don't know, like.
I think there were definitely some things that happened that were not supportive. Like the aunt and uncle that I did end up getting adopted by eventually did not really understand the full impact of trauma. And there were a lot of things that they said and did that kind of like shut me down and pushed me away from them. I didn't feel like I could trust them. And so I did struggle a lot in that home. And I didn't move out until I got married either. So it was, I think if some of those things had been different, maybe I wouldn't have, but I don't know. And Yeah, I guess there's really like no way to say for sure. I guess what I would say though is I'm happy for the support that I do have right now in my life. Like my husband's very
Hmm.
supportive. I have friends and family members who are very supportive. So
That's good.
mhm.
How are you doing with your recovery from alcohol and drugs right now?
Pretty good. I struggled with it for a long time. So I first went into rehab in
Hmm.
September of last year. And since
Okay.
then, I had struggled a lot with like relapsing, things like that. I am about 30 days clean and sober right now. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. So it's something that like I had kind of reached a point where I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Like it's too hard. And I just kept, even when I would use again or struggle again, I kept going back. Like I kept
Hmm.
seeking help. I kept going back into NA, Narcotics Anonymous. I kept working with my sponsor and talking to people. And I'm grateful I did. I'm grateful I
Hmm.
did. So,
That's awesome. Um, See, this is why we need each other because you can be a person that can testify and say, "Hey, I was in this position as you, and now look where I'm at today," you know? And the fact that you're married and you're already starting your life, that's a big step, you know? Like I know our traumas are going to be it's not something we can just suppress and be like, "Oh, I've dealt
yeah.
with it for these many years. I'm done with it." It's not something that easy, you know? Like for
No, it's
me,
definitely
I I, I have kids myself,
not.
and it's like there's days where I wake up, like especially today, and I don't even know why today, but like today was a horrible day for me, and I don't even know why.
Mm. Yep.
Like I
Yeah,
kept
I
going
can
back to
relate.
things, and I'm like, okay, and some people are like, well, you know, you should be okay now because it's been so long. Well, a trauma doesn't just disappear that easy, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Your little things that might come um and just trigger you. Like I could be driving somewhere and I'm just fine and happy, and then someone driving past you would say something or give you the middle finger, and it'll take me
Yep.
back, and I'm like, but I guess
Hmm.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Give me 1 second. I'm gonna block somebody quick.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know this person, but I
Yeah.
don't know what's funny, but anyways,
Yeah.
see, sometimes you know, like trauma is not something, or depression is
Mhm.
not something you can just write off. You know, it's something you have to talk about like this, and this is the reason why I opened TikTok. It literally, I opened it like a month and a half ago now, and
Mhm.
you know, like I don't care from what part of the world you are from. We're all
Mhm.
humans at the end of the day, you know.
Yep.
And when somebody sent me that message, I was like, I am meant to be. I'm for somehow. What?
Let me see if I can block
He
him.
I says, wait, are you just gonna block me? I didn't block anybody. Anyways, I didn't block anybody. I'm not here for negativity. I'm here to uplift you guys and
Mhm.
let our sister down there express what she's been through. Like I said, this is Hannah's sister. She's the one that's been there, seen everything that has happened to not just Hannah herself, but okay, we'll continue the
Yeah.
conversation. Um,
Uh,
I'm just here to, talk to her and have her express to us what she's gone through, and let her know, like, she's not alone in this darkness,
mhm.
whatsoever. We're all right there, you know. But go ahead, continue. They want to keep hearing you talk. Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah. I like what you were saying about like the trauma, how it doesn't matter how long it's been. Because I've had people tell me, they're like, well, it's been like 10 years, where people are like, well, I thought you'd be over this by now. And I'm like, that's not really the way that trauma works. Especially with childhood trauma, especially with that, because it affects the way that your brain develops. Like, it literally changes the way your brain develops.
It does.
And and trauma is stored everywhere in the body too. So there's a lot of different
I feel
things that
like
can
there's
trigger
a chemical imbalance sometimes.
you. Yeah, well, it does result a lot of times in a chemical imbalance. I feel like, that's one of the symptoms of trauma is, because your brain doesn't develop right, because you've gone through all these things, like there is that chemical imbalance, which is why medication can be so helpful. And therapy is so, so important in learning how to deal with that. Because you can be, like you said, like fine one moment. There's moments where I'm like fine, and then my husband will say something that's completely innocent, completely innocuous, but it reminds me of something from my trauma, and I just snap. And you can't plan for those things. You can't plan, be like, okay, today I'm going to get triggered in this way. So how am I going to, prevent myself from freaking out? You can't do that. You just have to keep processing and working through it with people and with your therapist so that when that does come, or, you do have those moments, you don't react in the same way. So.
Right. No, I completely understand what you're saying, because sometimes, like my husband will go somewhere and he'll buy me new shoes or something, and I'm like, why? It's not that. I know he bought it for me because he cares, and but the experience that I had with that's connected to it is when my father we used to buy something for me, he would say, "Don't ever think I never bought anything for you." Or don't ever say I didn't do anything nice for you. Right?
Yeah.
So I used to associate that to it, and it's not on purpose. It just put it down. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Just yeah. Go take a shower. Sorry. But yes, I would like little things I would associate with it. So I completely understand what you're saying with your husband. Like it's not on purpose. It really isn't. It's just a trigger that just comes, and you're like, oh, and I try to snap out of it, and there's times where I can't.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I found that for me, one of the best things is just walking away from the conversation. And sometimes just like that space, I'm like, I start thinking about what just happened. I'm like, wow, that my response made no sense. Or like then realizing that like it was connected to that trauma, and then going back and being like, hey, so this is why I responded in that way. Because that communication is so important in those relationships, to be like, hey, like that just triggered me because that's something that like my dad would say, or that was said all the time growing up, and then they know, okay, that's something that I need to be careful with talking about. So
what do you think? I'm sure you're a lot younger than I am, but what do you think? I know there's 34 people here that are still listening to us since the beginning. What do you think that we can make people understand us, that what we're going through is something we're going to have to deal with for the rest of our life? It's not something that we can just snap out and be like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think realizing that trauma and what you go through has a huge biological component to it. It's not something that we can get over with, just thinking more positive. It's very complex. It's a lot more complex than people think, and there's no one solution to trauma either. It's a combination of a variety of different things that you have to do in order to live like a just like a normal, whatever you want to call that, type of life. And so I think just realizing that like it's not something that can be cured necessarily. It's something that you learn to manage and you learn to grow through. And
if you guys have any questions for both of us, feel free. This conversation is just gonna keep going. I'm not a person that gets things prepared to ask people question. I just rather go with as a conversation flow. I don't want it to make it seem like we're doing interview because that's not what this is. Just a conversation. That's what I want it to feel like. But if you guys are having any questions, let's see. It says, "Where are you living?" I'm not sure who the question is for. We're both living in America. I don't. But how have you told your husband of the trauma that you've gone through with your family, and how does he take it?
Yeah, so it's something. My husband and I were actually pretty good friends in high school before we started dating. And it was something that like I had told him about. And I actually became friends with him around the time of the trial too, so he was aware of what was going on. It has been, I can say it has been difficult with my addiction though. Like, yeah, so addiction heavily impacts everybody in like that's close to you in your life, and it really kind of what I was doing and me using drugs and alcohol really had a negative impact on our relationship. Things are getting better, things are improving. We're going to marriage counseling, and as I am showing through my actions that I do want to get better, I do want to stay clean and sober, things have improved. Like the trust is improving, communication's improving, but it takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
something that's like simple for sure. So
oh, somebody said you got this.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
You don't want to visit Africa? Oh, they're writing for you. Those are my family members, so
Okay.
They're my TikTok family.
That's awesome. So
they wrote, said, "I'm proud of you."
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for the support. Honestly, it means a lot. So what
I can tell you right now, the most support I've ever gotten ever in my life was when I opened TikTok. People from Germany, people from all over the U.S. I mean, also all over the world that have said, "We're here to support you. We're here to help you grow." And that's what this is about. Like I said, my TikTok is no politics. It's about women empowerment. It's about how can we heal from our trauma that we are going through. How why is it okay to there's a lot of things we can continue talking about, but it's just there's a lot of stigma.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Drug addicted people are because they have their parents are rich and they have the money. That's why they're addicted. Nobody really understands the fact that actually addiction comes from the trauma that somebody went, and the only way they can numb that trauma is by going into something that's going to numb them, like emotionally, mentally shut it down, right? Because when I go through my anxiety, my brain is like firing 10,000 miles an hour, and I can't sit still, I can't think straight, and what people don't understand is trauma is what leads it to drug and alcohol addiction. That's what numbs it. Me, on the other hand, I dealt with it with running.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Me, I don't drink alcohol. I've never done drugs besides unless it's something prescribed to me that I don't know. They wrote something in my language, but I can't read it because I don't know how to read it. But I can speak it, but I can't read it.
Oh, gotcha.
But like for some people, they can just go through doing something. I work in the medical field. I see young people coming in, and The only reason they're there is because they're trying to numb themselves. And sometimes I see them and I'm like, what made you do this? Oh, I went through this and this and this and this. And it breaks my heart. And I'm like, why not create a community that we can help one another to go through the trauma? We all gone through different type of trauma, right? Not everybody goes in this straight line that they say they did. No, it's a lie. But the fact that you gone through the dark moments of life and now you're on top of it, that's amazing. Not too many people can say, oh, I was this many months free, I was this many times, I haven't done it yet, or anything like that. Because most people, little tiny triggers them to go back straight to where they were from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My daughter were born in Ethiopia. I worry a lot about their childhood trauma. I will let my sister answer, then I will answer for you. Do you have any answer for her?
So I don't really know like the daughter's ages or anything like that, but I think if you are worried about them, it's important to get them, especially if you think that they've been through trauma, it's important to get them professional help. I think, and be as supportive as you can. Like, be somebody that they can talk to and open up to. Be somebody who's good at listening, and then there's a lot of programs out there to help people, especially if they're still children, to get the help. So 16 and 19, okay, one a therapist, and we are scheduled. That's amazing. That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Go ahead.
If the 19-year-old, because I know for a little bit I was kind of resistant to therapy, sometimes you just have to be patient and just love them where they're at too. Because I know for me, even it took me a little bit before I was ready. And when I was ready, I told my aunt and uncle that I was ready. And then with my husband, he didn't want to do therapy at first, but I was there for him. I tried to encourage him in the best way possible. So, but I'm happy to hear that you're scheduled with a therapist. That is a great first step for sure.
And on behalf of me, the one thing I can tell you is don't turn your back on them, because I know they're 16 and 19 and they might just fight a little bit with you, but I promise you, everybody needs their mom. Sometimes it's hard for us to talk to our fathers. I don't know why. But for me, from an adopted point of view, for me, I wish my mom asked me how I was feeling. As sad as that sounds, I wish my mom asked me, how are you feeling today? Or if I was feeling down, what can I do to help you? Or let's just go for a walk, like just a little tiny walk, and say, how was your day today? What did you do today? Just asking those little tiny questions, you would be surprised how much of them it opens the door for you to get in and know where their mind is at and where they stand in life. I know it's sometimes we're like, oh my God, they're so annoying that they're talking to me. No, I know. I'm a mother myself, and my kids get annoyed. Mommy, my God, you ask the same question over and over every day. I know, but I just need to know, how was your day today? What did you do today? What did you learn today? What was your best thing that you had today? Even if they say coffee was good coffee, just be like, what coffee did you have? I don't know. That's just a conversation that opens up for you, and I think it's very helpful to keep it open. And that way, especially the 16-year-old for you, I think if you start that, that little door, she'll keep coming back to you and having a conversation with you over and over again. Do you guys have hobbies or something you do to help take care of yourself when you're a bad day? For me, I like to go hiking. I am a hiker. I'm a very active person. I also have kids that keep me busy, so I'm always somewhere out of the house.
That's awesome. That's very, very healthy thing to do. Yeah. For me, like I'm actually just starting to get back into those healthy things. In my addiction, I didn't really engage in those very often, I think understandably. But for me right now, what I've been doing is I've been getting back to the gym. So just go to the gym. It doesn't even matter if it's it doesn't have to be a long workout, just something to take your mind off of it, give you a little boost in your energy and your mood. Also, writing out what I'm feeling, whether it's through journaling or writing poetry, it's a great outlet. Because sometimes it's just seeing it on paper, because I have a hard time sometimes expressing what I'm feeling by speaking it. Like by having a conversation and being like, hey, I'm feeling this way. It's just hard to express. But when I write it out and I see it, I'm like, oh, this is how I'm feeling. So that's something that I do when I'm struggling or having a bad day.
Absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, if it's too sensitive, just be like, T, not yet. But
Right.
what kind of what you said you were addicted to drugs and alcohol. So what kind of things were you into that was hard for you to get out of? I mean, all of it is hard, but you know.
Yeah. So it started. Before drugs and alcohol, I was engaging in like self-harm. That was like my original addiction. So like cutting myself.
Okay.
That went on for years. And then end of 2019, I started drinking. I had a miscarriage and I just kind of spiraled and I started drinking a lot, but I would do it alone. And it wasn't a social thing for me. It was a very much numbing thing. And then November of last year, I got involved with the wrong people, wrong crowd, and started getting into meth and fentanyl. And I would just like go out, hang out with people I didn't know, put myself in really dangerous situations. And it was, very addicting. It basically like consumed my mind and everything that I thought about, is like, I just want to get high. How can I get, my next high, my next fix? And getting out of that mindset and that mentality has been very difficult. I am thankful though that I do have like the supportive friends and family, people that have never given up on me. Because I don't know where I'd be without that. Yeah. So without my husband, I have like 3 really close friends that have been with me through my whole addiction that I've always been able to count on. I know I can pick up the phone and they're gonna answer.
That's all you need. As long as you can count on them. I mean, I don't think you need thousands of friends that you know what I mean? Like I think if you just have that 2 or 3 friends, and that's all you need. And the fact that I don't know if too many of you know, like I said, I work in the medical field, and I see fentanyl overdose every day. I work 7 days and I'm off 7 days. And those 7 days that I'm at work straight, literally those 7 days I'm on straight, will have at least 3 to 4 fentanyl laced drug overdose. And of those people, maybe one of them will survive.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're here talking about it and saying I survived, and even though I went through this, but I survived, I'm here. That in itself is like you're already in the process of in the healing. I mean, it's not gonna be I'm gonna be healed tomorrow, but I mean, I don't know. There's just God has something planned for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Obviously, He has something for you to be out here talking about and being a teacher for some of these kids, because that's what I think our generation kids, I think they need somebody to say, hey, I'm still here. I went through it, but I'm still here and you can get out of it. And I think in some ways, I don't know, I feel like maybe God is trying to make you to be an example for everybody that's going through this. You know, this is glad you are sober.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very happy too. And it's crazy to me because like there's been a lot of times that I've almost died, like in my addiction and with like making suicide attempts and thinking about it and all the things I've gone through. I'm like, man, I should be dead right now. And so the fact that I'm not, it really helps. It gives me hope in a higher power and a God that is loving and understanding, and it gives me hope for my life too. Of like there is something that God wants to do with me. I don't know exactly what it is yet. It's one of those things that I'm kind of living day to day. Like it's kind of funny because with my account, I started my TikTok account, I think about a month and a half ago, 2 or 2 months ago. And I started it mainly to talk about addiction and to help people who are going through addiction raise awareness about it. And when I posted that video several weeks ago, I didn't realize it was going to blow up. I didn't realize people were going to relate to it, want to know more, ask questions. I didn't realize the impact that I could have just by sharing my story like that. And it was one of
This
those
is
things
why.
that one of those things that my friend told me. He goes, well, everything happens in God's timing. He's like, we never really know when, things are meant to happen. He goes, so obviously God thinks you're ready for this. And I was like, wow. And it was just like a really powerful moment. So since then, I have been talking a lot more about it because if my voice, just by like on TikTok, this like random popular app, if this could
Yeah.
like help make a difference in somebody's life or change things that are like messed up with the system, like lead changes, then why not? Like, why
Yeah.
not share my story? So.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think God has a plan for you, and I feel like your plan is to show people, like what you went through, not just in your family, what has happened to your family, and not just because you've lost your brothers and sisters to the evilness that happened, but the fact that you went through all that and the drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and you're still here today with us. That is definitely that's just God has different road for you than what you thought
Yeah,
you had for yourself, and
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
sometimes we tend to block it.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I think there was a point where I was not ready. I wasn't ready to hear it. I wasn't ready to change, and it took a while for me to get to that point.
Yeah,
So, and that's part of the journey too.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I tell people this. They're like, how did you come from, where you went through, and then now you're here today? Well, for me, I don't want to leave my kids by themselves because I know
Mhm.
what that feels like.
Mhm.
Like, I know what it feels like to grow up without no mom, no dad.
Mhm.
Um, you can be adopted and have a beautiful, and there's beautiful families who have adopted kids from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And there's also biological parents like yours.
Mhm.
Nobody, I swear to God to you, if you went up to them and say, "Oh no, my parents abused me," nobody would believe you.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
is the stereotype is going to be? Why would they abuse you? You're their biological kids, but these Ethiopian kids, they brought them here. Well, that happens. It happens. But people don't understand that it actually happens to biological kids too.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, like for me, I was blessed. I had an amazing mom. Like I have an amazing mom. Uh, but my father was different. Like I said, he was never physically abusive and never done anything to me. But sometimes the words people use are more damaging than a physical abuse.
I completely agree with that, actually. Like emotional abuse, psychological abuse. I think it can mess a kid up more in the long run than like physical abuse because you're
You know what I
messing
mean?
with
Like,
the head. Yeah.
yeah. Like if
Yeah.
someone hit me in the face, it's gonna be black for a minute, but I feel like it's
Mhm.
gonna go away and I'm gonna forget about it.
Mhm. Yeah. And
That's for me. But then
yeah,
yeah,
it's not that like
go ahead.
physical abuse isn't bad because physical abuse is bad, but most of the abuse that my biological siblings and I endured was like emotional and psychological abuse. There was some physical abuse, yes, but that's why like when we were removed from the home, like the articles say that the biological kids testified that there was no abuse because we didn't understand that what we endured too was abuse.
It's abuse, yeah.
And so
But because you were taught
yeah,
to not believe that was abuse, though, right? I mean, if you
yeah,
think about it, if you were taught, oh, I'm gonna correct you the way the Bible says, but in reality, you were just being brainwashed.
yep. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's like a crazy it's a situation that is very hard to encapsulate in a news article. So when people read the
Yeah.
articles on the news, like yeah, they're gonna get like an somewhat of like an understanding on the story, but there's a lot that the media can miss. And so it can make it more difficult.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing, guys?
We are good. How are you?
I'm fine. I heard you talking about gospel, and I would love to listen more about God.
About what? Sorry.
God.
About God. Are you the one that wrote on there earlier?
Yes,
Okay, what's going on?
a lot. No friends, no family. Just trying to be
Mm,
the best person you can be, but no one appreciating you.
mm,
Mm.
wow. Well, like I was telling her that, God has a different road for all of us. Me and Sarah are not going to walk the same road that I think God created for both of us. It's not. We all have different roads to go. For me, it was drive to open TikTok and to have a whole community here. The fact that I'm talking to Sarah that's gone through a lot of trauma, like I would have never thought I would be able to talk to anybody who's been in Hannah's surrounding.
Mm.
But um what would you like to talk about? I don't know what you're going through. Maybe you want to explain to us a little bit?
Actually, going through a lot in a different angle because you always want to prove to your friend that this is right, and they always push you away and always like stabbing you, betraying you, and even hate when you tell them the truth. So I
Mm,
feel like me just being alone this world, no friend, nobody to share my pains with or discuss.
mm,
Talk lots things about just me and my God, Bible. So I was thinking of if I can make a friend out there, different place, sometime communicate, call on the phone, I'm okay. Because no family, at least there should be a friend there for you.
yes.
Mm.
We all need a friend in our lives.
Yeah.
Somebody that you can call and say, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way. I'm lucky
Thank
enough.
you.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough I have family and friends, but like Sierra said earlier, we do not need 500 friends. We just need one to two
One
friends that
friend.
are, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I was having a guy who lives with me. I clothe him, feed him, got him anything he wants. Even what I don't get for myself, I get for him.
Mm,
So he
Mm.
went behind me telling people I'm a bad person that have done nothing for him, even trying to do me evil things. But unfortunately,
mm,
God exposed him before he can do that, and he left my
mm.
life. He was the only friend I had, the only person I could
Wow.
talk to and tell things about. I'm just
Mm,
trying to look out there to make one good friend. Just
Yeah.
one. I don't mind if the person is blind, crippled. I just want
mm.
someone who I can talk to, laugh with, explain things to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, this is a family TikTok. You are more than welcome to come in on live, like when we open live. I don't go on live too much, but now they're telling me I need to go live more. I will be going,
Okay.
but you are more than welcome to come and express how you're feeling and let us know what we can do to help you out.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Of course.
So, what's your name?
My name is T.
My
And
name is
just
Kara.
Kara. Can I have a bottle of Fanta you're drinking?
Hmm?
Oh, it's Gatorade.
Oh.
Can I have a bottle of it?
No, this is it.
I, I just want to say thank you both. You actually made me feel relaxed and relieved right now
Of
talking to
course.
you guys. I just
Yeah.
want to say, may God bless you too, and may you find good things ever and ever in Jesus' name.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Kara, I just add you up right now.
You what?
I just followed her.
Oh, you followed her? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
If you guys
So
have any questions, go ahead and
can
ask
I can
questions.
I can can I DM anytime so we can talk, please?
I'm not on TikTok that much. Only when I'm gonna go live, I come on. But you can
Okay.
always send a message, and if I have the time, I'll definitely reply back to you. But I'm a mother of 4 and a husband, so I'm really not on here on live
Yeah,
that
I
much. But I'm trying to
understand.
do more live. But I will respond back. It may be a little bit longer, but I will respond back.
Okay, Kyle, what about you?
Yes, just if like you're not able to message me for some reason, if you also just leave a comment in one of my videos,
Yeah.
I see those
Okay.
too. I try to read through all my comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of
happy.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Give me 1 second.
All right.
If you guys have any questions, otherwise me and Cara are gonna. And I keep calling your name the wrong way, and you just keep letting me call you the wrong name. No,
It's
I'm like,
okay.
did you say Sierra or did you say Cara?
Yeah, it's
Um,
okay. Yeah, it's like
and you guys please tap because otherwise it's gonna close my Yesterday I was on live and because I didn't have enough taps, it ended up closing me and I had to reopen it. It was so stupid.
oh,
Um,
Crap.
yeah.
Is that your phone number on your profile?
Who, me?
sorry.
Crap, Cruz.
Oh, the phone
Cara.
number the phone number that I have in my
Yes.
profile is for it's substance abuse info and helpline. So if you're struggling with substance abuse in any way, you can call that number. It's for people. I know that's the United States one. I don't know. I didn't put anyone for like other countries or anything, but that's
Where do you
for
live?
you. I live. Where
No,
does he
him.
live? Yeah, yeah. Where do you live?
I'm from Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I
And
don't.
you too?
We both live in the United States.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Um, I don't
it
know
would
if they
be a
have
bigger
anything like that in
surprise.
Africa. Huh?
It would be a great dream come true that we if I ever think I'll be able to be that place and start a life
Oh,
there.
oh, here in America?
Yes, because I
Oh,
do know how to make hair. Yes, I do make
yeah.
hairs, and so I was
Mm.
thinking, I'll be able to leave this country for God's sake.
Well, you never know. God might just open the door for you. So just keep praying about it.
Yeah,
Don't stop.
Mhm.
and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, Cara, how often do you talk to Emmanuel, or do you not talk
So
to him at all?
it's been about 3 or 4 years actually since I was in contact with him. I
Mm,
did get his email at one point. We sent a couple
okay.
emails back and forth, but he didn't respond. And for me,
Mm,
I just want to give him the space to respond when he's ready, because I know that he also went through a lot and he's struggling a lot. So it's not something I want to push him with. I would like,
absolutely.
yeah, I would definitely like to be in contact with him, but I feel like that would be, um, it wouldn't be right for me to like force myself into his life if he's not ready for it. That could just do more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Mhm.
he's how old is he now?
He is, I think he's about 20.
Wow. So he's independent then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how old is the youngest now of your siblings?
She's 18.
You
Mm-hmm.
guys all made it. You
I
made
know,
it.
yeah.
You beat all the statistics that usually put up.
Mm, that's
You guys
true, yeah.
all did it.
Yeah,
That's
I,
amazing.
thank you. Yeah. I went to my
Wow.
youngest sister's graduation pretty recently. Um,
Oh,
and that was really cool. Uh, she just
yeah.
graduated high school, so.
Wow, that's awesome. Is she gonna go off to college?
At some point, I think she's taking a gap year, gonna be working a little bit, and then she's planning on going to college, so.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How's the rest of your siblings? I know you said you have your brother that's in the military somewhere.
Yeah, so he was in the military for a bit. He's no longer in the military. I don't keep in contact with him anymore. There is some like complicated family stuff that happened. But then my second oldest brother, I I'm really close with him and his wife. And
Oh.
third oldest brother, I also don't talk to. There's some family stuff that happened with that too. But then my two younger sisters and my younger brother, I talk to quite frequently.
That's awesome. You don't have any contacts with your parents though.
No, I haven't talked to them in quite a while.
That's good. They don't write you letters or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
They don't know where I live at this point.
Good.
So if they are writing letters, they're sending them to my old address, and I don't live there anymore. So
That's good. You know, I mean, how do you feel about towards them right now?
Angry still. I think there's still a lot of anger that I feel towards my biological parents. I don't really want anything to do with them. I don't think I ever will reconnect with them in any way.
I mean, they're not gonna come out anytime soon, though, right? You don't think?
No, I don't think so, because they're not up for parole. So I don't, because Washington doesn't do parole anymore.
Oh, okay.
So they do, yeah, I can't remember exactly how it works, but they're going to be in there for quite a while.
Okay. What can we do to help you heal from? I mean, there's nothing. I mean, we're gonna keep doing this together, you know, to have awareness with people. But what would you like the Ethiopian community to understand about you and your brother? Not your parents, obviously, we all.
Yeah.
But what can we do for you and your brothers and sisters to help people understand that, you know, you guys were little when Hana got killed, right?
Yeah.
So you guys were young. So what can we make the Ethiopian community understand that, you know, this happened when you were 12 or 11, 12. So they don't say, well, why didn't you, you know, like my friend came up and she said, why didn't you do anything about it, right? How can we make the Ethiopian community understand that there was nothing you could have done to prevent her death?
I think just realizing the complexity of the situation, that nothing was under me and my siblings' control while we lived with my biological parents. So absolutely nothing. So we were so isolated, so brainwashed, that we really weren't even able to comprehend the depth of the situation that was happening. But I can tell you all now that none of me and my siblings are supportive of my biological parents in any way whatsoever. We are all, I think, just like heartbroken over everything that happened, and we do wish that there is something that we could have done differently. But at this point, like, we can't go back and change what happened. So that's just what I think I would say at this point.
Hey, Mike. I think he muted his
Yeah, his microphone's off.
Mike. Okay. Yeah, I think he's on the phone.
What's up? What's up?
We're good. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Do you have any question for my friend?
hold on. Hey, ተመልሰሽ አስገብኝ። ኤኮ እያደረገ ነው። ተመልሰሽ አስገብኝ።
Okay. Is it me that's echo? Ask me questions. You haven't asked me any questions. Ask me questions.
So you were adopted when you were 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like for you going from like Ethiopia to America? Like what was that experience
Hated it.
like for you?
I hated it.
Yeah.
And the reason I hated it is because when I first came to the United States, I was 12 years old. And before I came to America at the orphanage, we are told, hey, when you go to America, make sure you don't disrespect them. Make sure you're not, say you're not my parents. You make sure if they tell you to go clean something, you just go clean it. You make sure if they say do this, you're supposed to do it. Don't argue with them. So like at that point, I already put a setup in my mind thinking, okay, am I going to become like, in my country, they call it saratenya, like a maid. Like in my mind, that's what I thought. I was like, are they gonna make me like a housekeeper? Is that what I'm going for?
Yeah.
And they don't really explain to you that you're gonna have a culture shock, right? My culture is never gonna be involved for the rest of my life until I move out of my parents' house. They don't tell you those things. My parents didn't. I don't know if it's like a form of neglect of them not really learning about my culture before they brought me here, or it's a form saying, no, I want you to learn my way of living, and that's what I want you to be. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was what they were thinking, but
Yeah.
the first time I saw brown people that looked like me was when I was 17 years old and I moved out of my parents' house.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
grew
that
up
was
in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't know if you know Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I've never been to Wisconsin, but like I know some people from that area and like I lived in Idaho for a long time and there was only one
So
black girl in my school. So like I can't imagine what that would be like and what you went through just with that whole experience.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I didn't have any brown people. And then my first horrible experience was when I don't know if Hannah and Emmanuel went through this, but when I first came to the United States, they did a TB skin test on me.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up being positive. And anybody who comes from the third world country, it's gonna be positive. And I don't know now, but and the first thing I experienced was that um kids used to think I had HIV. That's the
Oh,
experience I had.
yes.
And even though through all that, I still put in my mind, the values that I was taught back home to not forget who I am is that no matter what these people might put me down, no matter what these people might say things to me, I've been called every name you can think of. But through all
Yeah.
of that, I still looked at them as if they were my friends. I may not have gone, out drinking and all that stuff, but they didn't understand my starvation was that I want to live a good life,
Yeah.
not because I want to be better than them. It was because I want to make sure that, you know, in Ethiopia, I was homeless before I went to the orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I know what it's like to get beaten up in the middle of nowhere on the road and nobody's there to pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
I know what
Yeah.
it's like to not have a single thing to eat for days and days and days. But that didn't
Yeah.
affect my spirit. And then when I first came to America and I was like, they brought me to these people that don't know my language, they don't know my culture, and now you're gonna throw me into the dogs because I didn't speak English when I first came.
Mm.
So when
Yeah.
I didn't know English, I only know how to say thank you, and that was it. And
Mm.
in my point of view, my parents made a mistake of not even knowing a single word to help me. And for months and months and months and months, I didn't speak.
Hmm.
For months and months and months, I couldn't express the feeling I was going through. For years and years and years, I couldn't express my depression I was going through. For years and
Mm-hmm.
years, I couldn't express my anxiety. I couldn't express to let them know that I feel alone. I feel like somebody has stripped me, like with
Mm-hmm.
everything there is, because I no longer learned how to speak my language. I no
Mm.
longer knew my culture anymore. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was 18 years old, I no longer spoke my language.
Mm.
By the time I
Yeah.
was 18, I can sit there and you can talk to me. I can understand a little bit, but I can no longer understand what people are saying to me in my language anymore. And to
Mm.
me, that was an embarrassment. I'm like, man, there was no excuse for me to not understand my language. But that's what I'm saying. When people adopt Oh, there's a question for you.
Chris Quivering, what do you think? What do you
What do you
think
think?
about Ethiopia?
So I actually don't know a lot about Ethiopia. I do know like it's a third world country. I do know that like you can't adopt like out of they don't let people outside the country adopt anymore, which I think I think they made the right decision with that because like so much abuse was happening. Like I completely agree with their decision. I wish that people who were adopting, like what you were saying, just like with your experience, that's like very eye-opening for me because these families, they think they're taking these kids in to give them a better life, but really they're just like stripping them of their identities, of their culture, without even realizing it. And it's so blind and naive for these people to do this to these kids. It really is. It's like shocking. And so the fact that like they're keeping adoption inside the country, I think is going to give those kids a much better chance when they do end up in families that are still in their culture, still using their language. I think I hope that these kids are finding a good home. I pray that, you know, these kids that are in these orphanages do make it. I don't know how many people in Ethiopia are able to adopt and take in these kids, but I think it's just like I don't know, it's a sad situation that they didn't even know like a word in your language. I never really thought about honestly like I feel like I'm learning a lot too talking to you about this because you know I've seen different things on the news and even TV shows have portrayed like what is it like for a person of color to be adopted by a white family. And just the culture shock with that aspect, even if they're born in America, can be so devastating to the child's identity. And then take somebody who's 12 years old from a completely different country, completely different language, not even being able to communicate for several months is so sad.
Adoption is not the problem. The problem is the government in rural Ethiopia enter kids raised by the community. I mean, I don't. I mean, I know that the Ethiopian government was involved in adoption because obviously they have to say yes, it's okay for you guys to get adopted outside of the Ethiopia to come to the U.S. But the thing about it is, you know, in some ways, I feel like these adoption were not really adoption, and let me tell you why. Most people adopt and they end up getting money from the government until that kid turns 18 years old. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know how much exactly they're getting, but I know they're getting a pretty good chunk of money every year from whether it's the tax relief or whatever it is, right?
Tax deduction.
And of that money, I don't know how much of that money the kid is getting, right? So to me, if my parents brought me here because they love me, thank you. But I feel like in some ways we were sold. I hate to say it. I hate to say it that way. I hate to say it. I'm not saying you sold me to be anything other than a kid, but I've seen people who have parents back home in Ethiopia now, they just find out. Because as soon as you get to the orphanage, you are told that you don't have any parents, your mom and dad died, your mom and dad died, your mom and dad died. That's why you get told every day while you're at the orphanage until you leave the orphanage. The Ethiopian government from 1991 to there was anti-Ethiopian. The ruling party was
Yeah. So I think there's something that I have to do like research on because like again I don't know much about Ethiopia as a country. So it's something
this comment right here, it's leading to politics stuff. I'm gonna apologize in advance, you guys. I'm not good at talking politics. I love all Ethiopians, Amara, Oromo, Tigray, Afar, yetim bitmetu. Sorry, Kara, Andy, like let me explain to them. ከየትም ሀገር ብትመጡ እኔ ወዳችኋለሁ። ወንድሞቼ ናችሁ፣ እህቶቼ ናችሁ እና እኔ በጣም አከብራችኋለሁ። ግን እኔ ጋር ስትመጡ ግን ዘረኝነት አታምጡብኝ። እኔ ዘረኝነት አልወድም። ሁላችሁ ለኔ አንድ ናችሁ። ፍቅር ነው። እናንተ ለኔ ፍቅር ናችሁ። anyways, Mike.
Wait, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody?
You want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that much point, but like,
thank you.
Whoever come to this live, please watch out the language what we talk about, because right now we're not talking about politics. You know, we're not like everybody's equal to me. Like, it doesn't matter like where you're from. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Everybody has the different opinions. You know, they can share their life. You know, like, so my advice is, because we can't talk about the politics. That's another subject. If you want to talk about the politics, there's some rooms you can go talk about the politics. You know, here we're just sharing the ideas, what's going on. You know, like how's your day been going? You know, so
let me ask you guys a question. What do you guys think about the stigma in the United States about young adults? For example, me and Mike, we're from the same culture. So, for example, for me, I grew up in the American community, so I can express myself. My mother will listen. But in the Ethiopian community, if a man expresses himself or say, you know, in the Ethiopian community, they expect you to be married by a certain age and have family by a certain age, right? What do you guys think about the stigma that people put on our way to say, oh, by 33 years old, you should have had two kids by now, and you should have been married and living in the house that has a white fence around it? What do you guys think about that? Mike, I know your answer.
So I think,
I think this, like, it doesn't matter. I don't see the age matter. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's not the age, but I'm saying like the stigma that's put in front of us, right? Now you should be graduated by college by this time. You should have been this by this time, and then by this.
That's called forcing. You know, that called forcing. Like, nobody can forcing you. I'm talking about, like, because I know what to do. I know what I'm. You know, because I'm adult. You know, like, I know which one's bad. I know which one's wrong. You know, they can't tell me. They can't tell me. Oh, you need to, like. Oh, you young. Like, you like 18. You above 18. So you need to go out married. Blah 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 blah. You know, they can't tell me what. They can't tell me what's like what. They can't tell me like every single stuff. You know, like. I know what time I'm gonna marry. I know what time I'm gonna finish school. I know what time like started life, you know. Sometimes if you grow up with the families, you know, you can get a lot of pressure, because your family, they want to see you success. You know what I'm saying? So that's the problem, you know, that's the problem. Oh, you know, like, you need to marry this age, you need to marry this, you need to have a kid, you need to have this, you need to have this. That's like coming from the parents. They give you like too much pressure, because especially if you're like only kids, if you're like the firstborn, they don't want to see you, like, they don't want to see your life is miserable. You know, they don't want to see you like your life is bad. You know what I'm talking about? They don't want to see you like stressing out. You know what I'm saying? That's why they told you, oh, you need to get out, get some life, get some married, have some kid, you know, go to school. You know, they give you the good advice. I think the reason I say that, because before we born, you know, like, they went through all this kind of situation, because like, for example, like, my parents, like, before I was born, you know, like, they go through all this kind of situation, you know, like, which one is bad, which one is like good, you know what I'm saying? then they don't want to see us. They don't want to see us go through the same situation they've been passed through, you know. So that's why they
Yeah.
just keep telling us. That's why they just keep telling us the advice. You know, if you're not going to school, oh, you're gonna be, your life is gonna be like bad. You know, if you're not married, you're gonna be like you're gonna be like this, blah blah. You know. So that's the reason the parents pushing you to get married and have some life with somebody. You know. So,
Yeah.
but me, like personally, me, I respect my family because I love them so much. So when they told me, "Oh, you need to go married, you need to go like do this something," like I'll say yes first. I'll say yes. I'll respect the word, but I'm not gonna do it because they told me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So because I'm adult, I'm grown up, like I'm growing as man. So I know what to do. You know, like I know which one is good, which one is bad. You know. If I get married if I get married like 20, like if I right now I'm 29. If I get married by now, I'll go married by now. But right now, I'm not decide to marry because right now my life is not stable right now. I'm not like, you know what I'm talking about? So I'm not stable because when you married, you know, when you become to relationship, you know, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of responsibility in front of you, you know. So you have to be careful before you came to a marriage, you know. You have a lot of responsibility, you know. So
Yeah.
first decide what you want to do first, you know. Are you gonna,
Yeah.
so are you gonna be take over like are you gonna challenge in your life, uh blah blah, you know. So to me, uh
Oh, Mike, you wanna nagtatayikahan? And then I will answer a couple questions.
uh
It
eat your
says,
fun.
did you run away from TT?
Nah. Anyways,
Uh,
guys, what I'm trying to say is don't be foolish, you know. Don't be don't, because somebody told you what to do, it doesn't mean you have to do it, you know what I'm saying? Because we knows how to, like, we knows how to do it, you know.
yeah.
That's my opinion so far.
Can I ask you a question, T?
Yeah.
So what was it like for you, like when you moved away from your adopted parents' home? Like, what was that journey like for you, kind of discovering yourself, kind of coming to terms with everything that you had been through and getting re-involved with the Ethiopian community?
For me, I had to discover who I was all over again because when I was living with my parents, you know, I was sheltered. I mean, they didn't keep me from doing what I want to do, but I was in some way sheltered because I grew up in a middle class, high middle class family. My parents had two houses, one in town during the school year, and one out in the country where we went there during the summer to, you know, pick berries or whatever we want. You know, I was lucky. But having to learn about racial problem when I moved out is what hurt me the most. Because my parents didn't teach me about racial stuff. They didn't tell me I was going to experience racial stuff when I moved out of my parents' house. So when I was experiencing those things, I just was like, no, like I would become very angry, but then I will think about it. I'm like, you know, in my culture, in my country, they teach you that everybody is your brother and sisters. I will answer you guys this question. I promise I will. I know there's a couple questions. But when I moved out, like getting called names that I've never really recognized what they were, I didn't know. So I would call my mom and be like, hey, mom, somebody called me this. What does this mean? And she would explain it to me, and I would get furious and angry because when you come to my country and you're a white person, you come to my country, you're expecting me to treat you like a king and queen, right? Because you're quote unquote white. Again, this is not to be racial or anything like that to anybody, but you're expecting you expecting my country people to take care of you. But when I come to the United States and I'm a citizen, now all of a sudden I'm like a second class person to them. And I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't, like, that didn't click in my head. And I struggled with self-identity, because when I went with the African American community, I didn't fit because I didn't speak like them. This is the honest truth.
Yeah.
When I went with my white people, because that's all I knew, I was too dark for them. And then when I went around, yes, I will. I promise I will answer the question. And then when I went around Ethiopian people, I didn't know how to speak my language. So I became very depressed. I've tried self-harming, meaning like ending things. I've done that. Then I thought about it and I said, why? For what? For who?
Yeah.
If I'm gone tomorrow, who's going to be happy? The people that were evil to me. You know? And then I was like, I came to America. I'm going to live the best life I can live. I'm going to do the best I can. And that's it. And then from that day on, I was like, I worked 3 jobs. I went to school. And then I met my kid's father. We were together, had 2 beautiful kids that I don't regret whatsoever. But there's a couple of people that I can count on my hand that have never showed me racial stuff. But I can count my hand and my toes and everything else in my hair that I can tell you that have told me to go do it and just get it over with. Because I should be very appreciative that I came from Ethiopia and my parents adopted me and they gave me a good life and there's nothing missing from. No, I've never said there was anything missing from me. I never said my parents didn't give me. But the problem is I lost who I was, just like you, right?
Yep.
You went through that whole entire trauma. You lost. It's not that you forgot who you were. It's just you lost who you were because of the trauma.
Yep, exactly.
The trauma trumps the trauma that you go through trumps your personality and who you are and literally strips it away.
Yes, exactly.
Because you're constantly thinking about. Yeah. Is that funny? Hold on, let me just answer. Before you were born, how did you know that you were parents? They died when I was 4 or 5 years old. Did you run away? Oh, let's see what else. There was other one too. I don't know what she started with. We started with my sister right here, talking about her sister Hana, who passed away back in 2011. And because of her parents doing, not her, but her parents doing, her sister died. And so we're just here talking about the trauma that she went through and the trauma I went through. And we're just having a conversation of healing process. That's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
Now I can't go through my comments. Oh my God.
T, so I feel like your story
is it freezing on your side?
Not really. It's not like freezing. It's a tiny bit glitchy, but not bad. But I feel like you have a story that is not talked about very often. Like you have a powerful story of what you went through and then like what that was like, and I feel like your voice could really make a difference.
They close me off, you guys. I'll just come back.
But what would you say to? I'm kind of curious. What would you say to parents or people who are wanting to adopt children of color, or people from a different country? What would you say to them to like help them understand what it's like for like the children and what they should do to actually provide like a safe and stable home and caring home?